Welcome viewers! Today I want to do a different kind of video. This video was meant to be posted in October, but there was some stuff that happened and I felt the need to postpone the video. Now that I'm back on my feet making videos, I felt like finally making this. So let me tell you about my best friend YodaJax10. For those who don't know, he's my best friend online and in the real world. We first knew each other briefly online back in 2016, but in April of 2017 we met in person and were excited to know where we came from. And yeah, it's almost been 5 years since we became real life friends. We've done all sorts of stuff together. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to go to BrolyCon for its last 3 years. He's helped me through the hard spots of drama, and I honestly don't know what I'd do without him. I know there are some things we disagree on, most notably seasons 5 through 9 of My Little Pony, but we don't let that get in the way of our friendship. We both agree, however, that the 2015/present era of SpongeBob is not given much of a chance by a lot of people. But why we're here today is because I'm looking at a story he wrote. He loves writing as much as he loves reviewing. And when it comes to animation, he's one of the most passionate people that I've ever seen talk about it. And the story he wrote just so happens to be a crossover between SpongeBob and My Little Pony, simply called SquarePants Are Magic. This was a story that was first thought up by Jack in 2013, and it took him almost 2 years to get the story right and finished in 2015. However, he released a special edition earlier this year and he says that is the version he wants to read. After seeing how it was in the working since 2013, any scene that looks similar in Season 4 onward is pure coincidence. Read the DVR version that came out in 2021. That is the best version. The story takes place after Keep Calm and Flutter On, but before Magical Mystery Cure. When does it take place in SpongeBob universe? Don't know. SpongeBob can take place at any time. The story is of Princess Celestia sensing a vision of an invasion from a new bad guy named Strife, the brother of Discord. Celestia feels this is the time for Twilight Sparkle to receive an apprentice, and it is none other than SpongeBob SquarePants. He is summoned to Equestria to learn magic from Twilight and also bond with her friends. But it turns out that Plankton was accidentally summoned with SpongeBob, and he secretly sets out to help Strife obtain power to rule over Equestria so he can help him get the Krabby Patty secret formula. Top it off with SpongeBob's friends looking for him after his disappearance, and you get laughs, hearts, thrill, action, insanity! You know, all the casual stuff you imagine from this kind of story. Crossovers are always a fun concept, but to make them work, you gotta work at them. The main rule or idea of a crossover to ask before making one is, does this work? You need to make sure what you're crossing over is able to bounce off each other.
Yay! A crossover always brings out the best in each show! The priorities are always creative and not driven by marketing.
Usually what works is similar franchises. My favorite crossover of all time is the Scooby and Courage the Cowardly Dog crossover one because of their universes being somewhat similar, and being absolutely funny. A crossover fails when it's either too one-sided or doesn't bounce off each other like DC/Teen Titans Go crossover. Both of them! The first one was just a copy of the Scooby-Doo crossover. Hey, did you know we like Family Feud? We're gonna play it twice! And the second didn't even need to be a crossover. Why the fuck are you guys in space on a vacation? This is stupid! People create crossovers all the time, whether it's DVR, fanfiction, or YouTube, or anywhere else on the internet. You can see crossovers of anything in existence. If SquarePants Are Magic was real, I rank it very high as one of the best things to come out of either franchise. Now, since it is a fan-made story, it would be fair to rank it along the likes of actual episodes or movies, but I can see if it at least takes greater risk, and it does. There's one scene I remember that was like Squilliam Returns, but it felt like its own thing and actually felt more cinematic. Jack told me that he was inspired by it a lot when writing this. One big inspiration came from The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia, which is definitely my favorite segment of that movie. Another Disney inspiration was the Renaissance, which is definitely their best era of films. Another was the Nicktoon crossover games, which we actually both beat together. The only one left is Globs of Doom. There was also the IDW MLP comics, which I sadly haven't read much of, but what I have read are good. At times they do have a lot more freedom than the actual show did. And I think that's what makes this story also stand out. Even if it is a fan-made story, sometimes it can end up for better or worse due to how many possibilities you could take with it. One big thing that surprised me was how all the characters had individual screen time, and they feel in character. Even though the focus is on SpongeBob, each character contributes in their own way. Twilight fits her role pretty good as a teacher to SpongeBob, and doesn't just feel like another Squidward when trying to deal with his antics. It is like I'm reading about Twilight Sparkle interacting with SpongeBob SquarePants, and it is not a shipping story, by the way. You get that, people? Not a shipping story! Spike is also pretty good too. He's not just the butt of jokes like in most episodes, and the scenes with him and Twilight are definitely the more heartfelt and tender parts of the story, unlike the actual show. Plankton is just as funny and villainous as he is, and I love the way he bounces off Strife, whom we'll get to in a minute. Other characters like Pinkie Pie, Patrick Star, Fluttershy, and Squidward also get their own moments to shine. Even characters like the princesses and the Crusaders also get time to shine. The princesses do more than just give a speech and get captured, and the Crusaders actually can interact with the adults and not just be on their own roles. It's sad that the actual show took until the end of season 9 to get the CMC and adults together correctly. The princesses have their own arc in the story, which actually explains why Luna was around too much in the early parts of the show. Guess Luna Eclipse had good reasoning to shun Luna after all, unfortunately.
Sometimes it's just really fun to be scared.
What? There's also a nice little nod to both Sleepless in Ponyville and Sleepy Time in there too. Man, if I had a nickel for every character in either franchise that can travel through dreams, I had 2 nickels.
Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
Going back to the Crusaders, they're characters I really love in this story. While I always loved them as characters, it's nice to see a story where they're not the cause of the problem or getting bullied. And they actually can interact with the adults this time, as I said. Speaking of interacting with the adults, I love how they interact with SpongeBob. They bring it around town quite nicely. Now for the villain of the story, Strife. As I mentioned, he's the brother of Discord. If I were to describe his character, imagine if the Grinch was voiced by Wayne Knight. He has a very similar personality to the Grinch, and Jack told me when writing him that he imagined Knight for the voice. And given his record in voice acting, especially with villains, it's not too surprising.
Well, relax, old friend. Don't lose your head.
I'll also give credit that the story, well, delivers what it promises. A lot of people, including me, had problems with Pest of the West or the Clash of Triton, where the marketing built up a big battle and really there's
nothing!
Here, however, there's an actual big battle that takes place with all our heroes involved, but it's clear the big focus of it is on SpongeBob and Strife. But what I want to talk about, what I think is really good about this story, is its message. You see, while SpongeBob is excited to be in a whole new world like Equestria, he does know the challenges that lie ahead and is nervous about it. But what's important is the connections he made in Equestria, the bonds he made with Twilight, Spike, and the rest of the crew. That could apply to people who are making their first step into, well, anything. Whether it be entering a new school, a new grade, and even getting a new job. It's a lesson that both kids and adults can learn in their lives. When entering a new environment, it's important that you connect with the people in it. It's the friendships you make that can help you make it through. They can even sometimes feel like magic. Thank you all for listening to this video. If you want me to read more fanfictions like this in the future, or if you want your story recommended, message me on my Discord and you can have it recommended too. Star Giant Productions, out.